Let's roll, baby. Welcome in a loaded Monday edition of the Ringer Gambling Show with the East Coast Bias Boys recapping all the ins and outs of Wild Card Weekend. And what a thrilling Wild Card Weekend it was. Jastremski here in our New York studios alongside Joe House in Washington, D.C., Raheem the Dream Palmer in Las Vegas. Fellas, we have spent a lot of time together over the last 72 hours. We did a show on Saturday. What a crazy day we had Saturday. We spent an hour and a half on Sunday. 2 of the 3 games lived up to the billing. And I want to start with the Sunday games, House, because we'll get back to the Packers and the Bears, which to me was the most thrilling game of the weekend. From my bankroll standpoint, I'm still absolutely sick to my stomach over the fact that the Packers did not cover and did not win the game. Be that as it may, moving on. Sunday was a much better day for your boy. This is where I want to start, Joe House.
The Ringer Gambling Show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live and your way so you could build the best bet that fits your play. Plus, don't miss out on the NFL playoffs all month long. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/gamblers to get started. You have to be 21 or older and present in select states or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
All of the concerns that I had, that you had, that Raheem Palmer had about the Philadelphia Eagle offense being broken finally came home to roost. And has, despite the fact that the 49ers were bombed out, depleted, finding guys off the street basically to go and play defense, they go and lose George Kittle in this game in the second quarter. I still found myself in a position where I bet the 49ers on Sunday. One, because I couldn't find anybody in America who liked them. Number 2, I couldn't get there from a margin sense with the Eagle offense. And sure enough, the game was on the line, the season was on the line, and the Eagle offense needed to go and score a touchdown. And House, what do you know? They failed, and they failed miserably. Sums up the 2025 Eagles in a nutshell.
JJ, great job by you grabbing some piece of the Niners. This is exactly why going into the slate yesterday on our pregame show Sunday morning, my pick for the game was Philly money line parlayed with the under. And all of us loved the under in that game, but it was really all of us expressing great pessimism around the idea of this Eagles offense doing anything, even in the context of facing a completely bombed out San Francisco defense. None of us had any reason to trust this Eagles offense. Now look, the Eagles did put up 19 points. And that should have been enough. But ultimately, their defense and, honestly, let's just give credit where it's due, a Shanahan masterclass proved to be their undoing. And on our little thread, I really relished the opportunity to go ahead with 3 minutes left and post a poll to you guys with, it's the Eagles with the football with 3 minutes left, and they have to score a touchdown. Which do you like? A clown string of emojis or a string of crying emojis? Because we know how that was going to turn out. And, they titillated. They went down the field. Goddard converted a fourth down, the only really reliable offensive weapon. But ultimately, Eagles did what they've been doing all season long. And, that's it. That's really it for this version of this Eagles offense. We never have to talk about the bum that was their offensive coordinator again. He'll have to find a new line of work. We never have to talk about alligator arms A.J. Brown again. He'll be somewhere other than
He'll be in New England with his buddy Vrabel,
Maybe.
That's where he'll be.
Maybe. We don't have to talk about him in the context of this Eagles team. And we'll see what this Eagles team looks like and what Jalen Hurts looks like with a proper offensive coordinator. Because it is now beyond a reasonable doubt that if you put that man with bum-ass offensive coordinators. We now have 2 out of 4 years where he's been stuck with bum OCs, and it has not looked good, fellas.
Yeah, that game was the most stunning game of the weekend for me because you look at the fact that all of the injuries that the 49ers had, and they still went out there and scored 23 points, and they had a 52% success rate. It was just like Brock Purdy. I mean, like, he was incredible. Like, I mean, he escaped some sacks. He made some big plays. And in my head, if the 49ers don't score that last touchdown in the end, I'm saying, it's 3rd down and it's 3rd and long. I'm saying the Eagles are going to get the ball back, kick a field goal, and run down the clock. And they score a touchdown, and you just kind of knew that the Eagles would not find a way to get it into the end zone, even against this 49ers defense, which has been bleeding points to everybody. I mean, the Tennessee Titans scored more points than the Philadelphia Eagles against this defense. Old Man Rivers scored more points against this defense than the Philadelphia Eagles. So that tells you how broken this Eagles offense is. I don't even think they need to just get rid of Kevin Patullo. I think Sirianni needs to go as well, because it's clearly a coaching issue when you have all of the talent on this team and they cannot score efficiently.
It is wild to think about the fact, Raheem, that you're calling for a coaching change in Philadelphia a year ago. In fact, less than a year ago, the Philadelphia Eagles were holding up the Lombardi Trophy. But I understand your point. From a talent perspective, a whole lot of meat left on the bone for the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles. They'll see that defense go by the boards. It'll be a year of what ifs, and there will be no talk of a repeat. Now, Raheem, everybody on the Ringer Gambling Show, except for this guy, like the Jacksonville Jaguars. And there was a reason why, for me, Raheem, I couldn't get there with Jacksonville. At the end of the day, I said to myself, if I'm going to lose this bet, am I going to be okay losing money if Josh Allen goes down? And you know what I said to myself? Yeah. I said Jacksonville got a little too trendy. I know how well they were playing down the stretch. I know the whole deal. I'm not losing money on Josh Allen in round 1 of the playoffs. He's going to find a way to get it done. And I know, Raheem, for some people, they're going to look at that analysis and they're going to say it's very layman. It's very basic. Thank you, JJ Captain Obvious, for saying that you'd rather take Josh Allen over Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, any bum off the street could go and give you that take. Well, guess what, Raheem? Trevor Lawrence played a decent football game. Josh Allen basically is losing limbs. He's getting his rear end kicked. And he's coming back for more, and he's scoring touchdowns, and he's finding a way. And at the end of the day, Superman put on the cape, and that's why the Buffalo Bills are playing in the divisional round. How about that for analysis?
Yeah, I think that analysis is accurate. And I mean, sometimes you just have to just look at, this player is better than this guy. And sometimes that's it. I mean, if you go back and you look at that game, there's a 4th and 2. The Jaguars are up 7-3. And Trevor Lawrence has the ball, and I don't know if he slips, but he does not convert that 4th down. They convert that 4th down, maybe this game is over. It's
14-3, and the momentum of the game totally changes. Excellent point.
It's probably over. But if you look at the high leverage 4th downs for the Bills, Josh Allen converted all of them. And then, let's go back to the end of the game. The Bills are down. Josh Allen leads them on a touchdown drive. And then Trevor Lawrence, he has an opportunity to put them in field goal range. First play, interception. So ultimately, it came down to the fact that Josh Allen is the guy, and Trevor Lawrence isn't. Now, one thing I will say, me and House, we played the first half. We didn't play the full game. We had
the same gentlemen.
We had the same perspective of you, but it just didn't work in our favor because, one, they didn't convert that 4th down, they didn't take the points, and then also they missed a field goal to the end, which would have given us a push.
When he got mushed by Romo and Nance, the guy could hit it from 70 yards, and he misses the field goal, Raheem.
Yeah, so I think our assessment on the Jaguars' first half was the correct assessment. It just did not go our way. But ultimately, we didn't want to play against Josh Allen for the full game because we knew that he was going to put on his Superman cape, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, JJ, we were all literally in lockstep. I mean, the case that you made for taking Buffalo, Dream and I were on that same case. It's just what Dream described there. We decided to play the Jaguars on the first half only, and we would have got a push, but for Cam Little missing that 54-yarder. Very uncharacteristic out of that man. But really the difference is those high leverage plays. And the difference is Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen. I honestly think this Jags team could get there. I think that Liam Cohen, it was a learning experience for him. And you know, we've seen Trevor Lawrence. He led a huge comeback. He has a win in a wild card round. He has a playoff win on his resume, but Liam Cohen doesn't. And so here we go with Jacksonville. You know, they lost a nail biter by 6 plays, 7 plays, but that's the difference between Josh Allen, because once again, his coach didn't do him any favors.
Fellas, I was going to say, when they scored that touchdown, as someone that bet the Bills, I'm livid. I'm like, hello, you just gave Jacksonville a chance to tie the game. Josh is going to score. You know, it's tough in some instances where there's like 20 yards to go or 10 yards to go, where it's like, hey, you can't assume the touchdown. Raheem, was I fair to assume the touchdown on first down? Because I think the Bills were going to score there.
I wanted the 40 seconds off the
clock.
Like 11 yards. So, like, the smart play would have just been the kneel on first down. You kneel, and then you run off 40 seconds or 30 seconds, and then you just tush push it again, because the tush push was unstoppable.
And that's where the concerns with Buffalo are going to move forward. And we'll get to that throughout the course of the week, as they will have the Denver Broncos. If they're lucky enough to win that game, we'll see who they match up with in the AFC. You know, I thought, House, your analysis on Lawrence is fair, because I didn't look at his game and say he wet the bed. It wasn't a Trevor Lawrence wet the bed game. It's just that he wasn't as wow. He wasn't as prolific as Josh Allen, the 4th and 2, not being able to execute. The interception late, which for my money was not necessarily his fault. And I do think this Jacksonville team, with the way they're built, can be back, and back in a big way next year in the AFC. Now, there's one more game I want to get to from Sunday. And I had a good Sunday. Bills were good to me. Niners were good to me. The Los Angeles Chargers were not. And House, if you told me Sunday, when we were doing the show, that the Charger defense would play like that for 4 quarters, I would have proclaimed victory. I would have taken my unit, and I would have put $10,000 more on it. That's how confident I would have been that the Chargers were going to go into New England, cover 3.5, and win that game outright. Chris Collinsworth did an excellent job on the broadcast. We know Joe Alt and Mr. Slater have been out for the most part a good chunk of this year. The first half of that game was not about the offensive line being inept for the Los Angeles Chargers. That game was about the quarterback, the golden boy, who the nerds love and drool at every possible moment. He's missing throws, he's holding the football way too long, and looked overwhelmed by the moment. I'm sorry, that game, House, is on Justin Herbert. Case closed. I don't want to hear it. He did not play well enough. He did not give his team a chance to win, and now he has 3 duds in the postseason. The biggest playoff collapse that I've ever seen, 4 interceptions against the Texans, and 3 points, not against the 85 Bears, not against the 2000 Ravens, not against the 2002 Bucks, not against the 2013 Seahawks. Fellas, are the Patriots an all-world defense? They're an average defense. 3 points. Enough said.
I am not, by any stretch, a Herbert apologist. I don't think over the time that we've done shows together, JJ, you would identify me as one of those Herbert truthers in that camp. But I will say that game was not about Herbert. That was a failure. And honestly, I regret this, because that game played out the way we thought this Chargers season was going to play out. All 3 of these guys sitting here at this table in front of these cameras right now said this Chargers team didn't do enough in the offseason to bolster their offensive weaponry, and they arrived this season with a flat offensive trajectory, and we were all expressing skepticism in their win totals, in their ability to get to the playoffs. The son of a guns went out in the regular season and turned, I guess you could call it the lemons into, it wasn't a very good lemonade, but it was a good enough lemonade for them to get enough wins in a very difficult division and then make it to the playoffs, really based on that underrated defense. But this is the thing, man. This is another team that's going to need a new offensive coordinator. It was a lack of imagination. It was a lack of preparation, honestly, because the difference for the Patriots is a with Milton Williams and without Milton Williams. And their failure to account for simulated pressure, for exotic blitzes. The Chargers offense came off the field telling players on the Patriots defense we had no idea what was coming. Well, that was apparent the whole freaking game. They had no idea. They kept trying to run inside. They could establish no kind of scheme blocking whatsoever for inside runs, and Herbert was on his back foot the whole day. He missed a few throws, 124 passing yards and 3 points. But really, this goes to Greg Roman. There are a lot of offensive-minded coaches out there that are going to be available. The Chargers better go get one, Dream.
Yeah, the Chargers got to fix the offensive line. I mean, the Patriots defense posted a season-best 56.8% pressure rate and 37 individual pressures against the Chargers Pro Football Focus. So that, to me, tells you everything. And look, Justin Herbert, he missed some throws. He's got to be better. Ultimately, that game was there for the taking. But when you don't have a competent NFL offensive line, it kind of puts you behind the 8 ball. So
no question. Listen, losing those 2 tackles was a huge narrative throughout the course of their year. I'm just telling you guys, the first half of that game, the pressure was not what it was in the second half. The second half, House, they couldn't run the ball. New England knew it, and that was where the confusion came in. The first half of that game, Herbert wasn't looking to run. Herbert was holding the ball a little bit too long. That, to me, is where he takes the hit because there were plays to be made. There were drives to be finished. He didn't do it.
They had the ball twice inside the New England 5-yard line in the first half and came away with a grand total of 3 points. That's on the coordinator as far as I'm concerned. That's a failure of imagination. It wasn't that they schemed up great plays and that Herbert overthrew the receiver or underthrew or bounced the ball. The play calling was, are we allowed to curse on this thing?
I'm not sure.
It was horse shit. It was horrendous. And they came. That was the game. The game was those 2 drives inside the 5-yard line. If they had 10 points or God forbid 14 freaking points, the whole trajectory could have been different to this game because that defense, that Chargers defense, we talked about it on the Sunday pregame show. We talked about it all week long. It was up to the task. They gave the golden child, the MVP of the league, 1 touchdown, and he was on his own back foot, and his own self was befuddled. His quarterback rating wasn't very strong. Now, look, I am not going to sit here and kill the kid because he had a couple of majestic throws, including the touchdown to Hunter Henry, which was absolutely a thing of beauty. But the Chargers defense did every single thing I asked them to do.
This was not a vintage Drake May game, to your point, and I would totally agree. The good news for Drake May, though, House, he got better as the game went along.
He did.
And now he gets to go and do it again next week, where, dare I say, maybe he can go and have the vintage Drake May game that we saw in the regular season. Boys, we are just getting warmed up. There's so much to do in this loaded Ringer gambling show on a Monday with the East Coast Bias Boys. When we come back, we have a Monday night game to get to. We also have to recap the Saturday games. I'm still buzzing. Boys, coming right back. The Ringer Gambling Show is brought to you by FanDuel. In the playoffs, the first half tells a story, but the second half is where legends are made, and FanDuel wants you right there with them. So, because every read that wrong, here we go. Because every FanDuel customer gets a halftime profit boost to use on live bets after halftime of the Texans-Steelers game. Just open your FanDuel app during halftime of the game, grab your profit boost, and place your live bet. So visit FanDuel.com/gamblers and grab your Texans vs. Steelers halftime profit boost. 21 plus in present select states, 18 plus present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable. Profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. It is a loaded Ringer Gambling Show with the East Coast Bias Boys, recapping Wild Card Weekend. Jastremski, Raheem, Palmer, and Joe House. Boys, Wild Card Weekend, not over yet. We got one more game to dissect. In the Steel City of Pittsburgh, the Steelers grabbing 3 at home against the big bad Houston Texans. We have a total that is under 40. The Texan money line is in the 160s. And I think you guys and gals know how I'm going to play this one, Raheem. I am on the Houston Texans. And my advice to everybody out there, if you like the Houston Texans, and I got the best of the number at 2.5, it got as high as 3.5. It really has settled in at 3 over the last 5 days. If you like the Texans, Dream, I do not think this will be a close victory for them. I think it will be a game where the Houston Texan defense overwhelms Aaron Rodgers, puts Aaron Rodgers basically in the proverbial body bag, and ends his NFL career. I do not see a scenario where this game is close and the Texans win, because that is where you will have the Mike Tomlin magic, the Steeler voodoo, all of the mumbo jumbo that we've seen on Monday night for the better part of the last 30 years. Raheem, I'm telling you right now, if this game is 14-14 or 13-13 with 3 minutes to go, I'm going to be sick to my stomach, and I'm going to know deep down in my heart I'm wrong and that the Texans are going to lose outright. I don't think that's going to be the case. So the way I want to handle this one, I'm playing alternate spreads. I'm playing the Texans minus 6.5. I'm playing the Texans minus 9.5. I think that's the pathway to a Houston victory. Not a close game, but a win by margin.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because when you look at the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers this year, they faced 6 of the top 12 scoring defenses. They've averaged 17.3 points per game, and they went 2-4 straight up and against the spread. I mean, you look at those games against Seattle, New England, Green Bay, the Chargers, and the Bills. So when this team steps up in class, they're clearly not the same team. And we know Aaron Rodgers is sensitive to pressure. The problem I'm having with this game, and like I said this before, and I'm going to say it again, because earlier this year, I was saying that the Texans were basically the 2000 Ravens. They were allowing 16 points per game. So basically, if this team scored 20 points, you weren't beating this team. But since week 15, it's clear that this is not the same Texans defense. I mean, you look at the last couple of weeks. They give up 20 points to the Cardinals. They give up output to the Raiders. Raiders had one of the best offensive games of the season. Then Riley Leonard and the Colts, they put up some points. So clearly this defense is kind of taking a step back. I mean, obviously you lose Mario Edwards. You lose Tim Settle. Fortunately for this game, Kamari Lassiter is playing, and that's huge on the other side of Derek Stingley. The thing with this game for me is that I think Aaron Rodgers is so sensitive to pressure. I mean, he ranks 31st in EPA per play out of 33 qualifying quarterbacks, and he's 25th in completion over expectation. So if the Texans get some pressure, which I think they will be able to do, it's going to harm the Steelers. Me personally, I'm going to take the Texans in the first half. You can take a money line, you can lay the minus 1.5. I think they get off to a fast start. They're 12-5 straight up in the first half of this of games this season, and I think this defense is going to be like a shot to the Steelers system. You can kind of maybe this might play out as a Cousin Sal special, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers get shut out in the first half. I don't want to have to worry about the second half, Mike Tomlin voodoo, so I'm going to lay it on the first half. I think the Texans come out. Defense does the thing. I don't know what the offense is going to do, but the defense should do enough to get them in that first half.
Yeah, JJ, this game is a tough one for me as well. And I'm interested, let me start by asking you a question. Like, in your mind's eye, how do the Texans get to the margin that you're imagining?
A turnover or two,
okay,
which to me is very possible by that defensive line and those unbelievable corners.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mention another name when we get to the props in this game that I think is going to be incredibly problematic for the Steelers. I don't believe they have an answer for Nico Collins. I want to remind everybody, the Steelers secondary leaves a lot to be desired. Jalen Ramsey is a shell of the player he once was, and they've moved him to safety, for goodness sakes. And from a corner standpoint, I don't see anybody on this Steeler defense matching up with Nico Collins, who, by the way, has been a guy in these postseason games that has had a reputation for going off. We saw it last year in the 2 playoff games he played. I think there's potential for that in this matchup. So that's kind of how we get there from a margin standpoint, House. To me, a turnover or 2, which is an absolute must if you're going to go and win by margin. And my guy Nico Collins going and having a big day.
Yeah, because my instinct here is to grab Pittsburgh +3. I gave out Pittsburgh +3 on our pregame show. And, most of it is, for me, residing inside of how much skepticism I feel towards this Houston offense. And the fact especially that this Houston offense and CJ Stroud play such a different version of offensive football when they are outdoors versus inside the comfort of their own home dome or some other kind of dome. And that's why I wanted to hear it has to come by way of short fields or turnovers to get to your view of the game. And I am just not going to get in front of this Steelers team on Monday Night Football, where they are now 23 in a row, 24 in a row after what they, the most recent success they had this season. And I'm really just going to, sort of live inside of the CJ Stroud outdoor numbers. 15 regular season games outdoors in his career. He's completed under 60% of his pass attempts. He is averaging less than 200 yards throwing the ball. He's averaging barely over 6 yards per pass attempt. He has 11 turnovers in those 15 games, 7 picks, 4 fumbles lost. He's suffered 40 sacks over those 15 regular season outdoor games. So I just think the combination of the way that this Steelers defense and I put the Houston offense in the same class as some of these teams that the Steelers had success with at home this season. They held the Browns to 9 points in week 6. They held the Colts to 20 points in week 9. They held the Bengals to 12 points in week 11. They held the Dolphins to 15 points in week 15. I think that this Houston offense belongs with those teams I just mentioned. So I don't see this Houston offense getting to 20 points. And so I think that, even with the duress that Mr. Rodgers is going to be under, I'd rather be on the side of grabbing the points. And that's the way I'm going to play it.
Fair enough. Now, a couple of those games you mentioned. The Raven game, which we witnessed in week 18. Steeler offense got off to a slow start. The Cleveland game in Cleveland. Offense was basically non-existent for 4 quarters. Even that Miami game, which we all watched on Monday Night Football, the Steelers were being shut out in the first half until they had the Hayward tush push basically right as the clock struck 0. So I think playing that game, Texans first half, is another great angle in this. And, I don't think the game is going to go this way, boys. But that Steel special, I think it's a nice little hedge in my Texan portfolio where I have a lot of 2.5. I've added 6.5. I've added 9.5. I don't get the sense this is a wire-to-wire Steeler win. That's just, how's this not their way? It's not what they do. So maybe Texan to win the first half, Steeler to win the second half. I just throw it in there. It's like a little, insurance policy for your boy.
Stat. So the Texans have won 9 games in a row. Teams with more than a 6-game winning streak entering the playoffs are now 6-13 against the spread. You saw the Jags lose outright. They had like a 7-game win streak. So maybe there's some, maybe some of these teams who come into the postseason with the winning streak, maybe they're being a little bit overvalued within the market. You saw this.
Interesting. See, I don't get the sense that the Texans are, Raheem. I feel like there has been a lot of love for the Steelers, and it is built here over the last few days.
But you got to remember, this line was 2.5. It got bet up to 3.5 before getting bet down.
And you got the buyback.
Yeah, so we're not at the opening number at this point in time. We're at 3, and we're paying it 3 across the board. So it's probably the perfect number at this point in time. I don't expect it to move.
No, it's not moving. I think the books are very comfortable with the 3. I'm with you on that. All right, from a prop standpoint, boys, I told you Nico Collins. I am all over Nico Collins today. 70-plus receiving yards. I basically got it at even money. This is a guy that C.J. Stroud looks to in these big games. Go back and look at the Charger game from a year ago and look at the Kansas City game from a year ago. It was a whole lot of Nico Collins. And look, he's been in and out of lineup throughout most of this year. He's back. It's a playoff game. I think we're going to see a whole lot of Nico Collins. I'm going to play him to score an anytime touchdown. I'm playing him 70-plus receiving yards. And how's you going to like this? My other anytime touchdown is going to be Mr. Push himself. I'm getting on the Hayward train because the Steelers love this dopey play. I don't know what they're calling it in Pittsburgh, but I'm on it. So my 2 anytime touchdowns for this game, in case you were wondering, it is Nico Collins at plus 150 and then Connor Hayward plus 700. Any interest in props, House, or no thank you?
Well, I have a prop I'm going to play. I don't know what to do about the anytime touchdown. I can't come up with any player that I feel comfortable scoring.
You don't expect many touchdowns. I get it. It's difficult. I understand.
I mean, I might I'm going to look at the CJ Stroud odds, see if he wants to run one in for me. But I am playing Aaron Rodgers over 32.5 passing attempts. It was at 33.5 yesterday. It's moved down to 32.5, and it's juiced a tiny bit. You got to lay minus 118. I'm okay with that. I mean, look at this. The way that Rodgers has taken over the Steelers offense over the last 3 weeks, he's attempted at least 39 passes in each game. And in situations like this one that I'm anticipating, where the Texans will immediately try and take the run away from the Steelers, then Rodgers getting the ball out quickly becomes the offensive game plan. That's what we've been watching in all these games where he's throwing it 39 times or more. And in situations where the Steelers have 19 or fewer running back runs, Rodgers has had 34 or more pass attempts. That there's 5 games out there like that. So that's the kind of script that I imagine for this. Rodgers over 32.5 passing attempts.
I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers, longest passing completion under 32.5 yards. I just don't see. I think they're going to try to get the ball out quickly to guys like Kenneth Gainwell, and I just don't see, him sitting in the pocket long enough to, throw one deep down the field. So as long as the Texans don't give up a ton of yards after the catch, I think this should be able to hit.
Gentlemen, when we come back in this loaded edition of the Ringer Gambling Show, I am going to get the take of one Raheem Palmer on one of the games in the divisional round. He said there was a bet he couldn't wait to make. Now he can't make it. How does he audible? We'll find out next. Welcome back to a Monday Ringer Gambling Show. The East Coast Bias Boys. A little extra pep in our step after the aftermath of Wildcard Weekend. It's John Jastremski, Joe House, and Raheem Palmer. Now, Dream, as far as what's to come Saturday and Sunday next week, I want to remind you of a take that you gave us really throughout most of last week. And you brought it up again on our Sunday pregame show. The Chicago Bears won in dramatic fashion over the Green Bay Packers. To me, hands down, the game of the weekend. Caleb Williams and the virtuoso fourth down throw and play, the hideous coaching of LaFleur, the hideous clock management of LaFleur. I'm not going to rehash the game. But what I am going to rehash, you mentioned, buddy, Philadelphia Eagles are going to be playing the Chicago Bears. And that you cannot wait to lay it on the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, buddy boy, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have the same view that you and I are going to have on Saturday and Sunday watching the divisional round. They're going to be on their couches. They might be in Cabo. They might be in wherever the tropical resort of their paradise may be. They're not playing. It's the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears instead. So my question to Raheem Palmer is this. Do you have the same appetite to fade the Chicago Bears that you did 24 hours ago? The floor is yours.
So you look at this game, and obviously we know every single person is going to be on the Rams. Right now, I need to see where the market is going to go on this.
Interesting. See, I don't feel that way, Raheem. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe it's the gambling, like the folks that we know, and like obviously all the folks that are doing the Ringer Gambling Show, they're going to say, yeah, Rams. So the football people are going to say Rams. I feel like the public, I could be wrong on this, Dream, don't you get the sense they've kind of fallen in love with the Bears a little bit?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't get that. I think everybody loves the Rams. I mean, I think, and then the problem I'm having with this game is that Matthew Stafford got banged up in that game, and I know he had the game-winning drive, but he was off. And the last 4 weeks or so from the Rams, I haven't really liked what I've seen. So it's just like this reeks of a game to me where maybe the Rams win but don't cover. I'm kind of right on number when it comes to my market. I just have to like sit down and really do more. I have to do more work on this game before I give a total opinion. There's another game that I already bet and I really love.
Well, you can't give me a tease like that and then not give me the pick, Raheem Palmer. So what's the damn pick, buddy boy?
49ers Seahawks under 46.5. I think it's 45 now. But, I mean, I got it at 46.5. It was 47. To me, this is just the prime under spot. I think at this point in time, the San Francisco 49ers, they were able to perform optimally offensively against the Eagles. That's not happening against the Seahawks. We saw the game a couple of weeks ago. We saw the opening game of the year. Now they're missing even more weapons. We know about Darnold's demons when it comes to the postseason. I just don't think this is a high-scoring game at all. So there's a reason why this number's been bet down 2 points.
I like the sound of that. And Joe House, going back to the Rams and Matthew Stafford, who, yes, was absolutely brilliant in the fourth quarter and dealt with that finger or hand issue. I think a play that's being overlooked that maybe some people are not talking about enough, that Puka Nacua deflection on what looked like it was going to be a easy-peasy interception that was going to seal the deal for the Carolina Panthers. People are forgetting about that play and how game-changing it was and how playoff-altering it was. It's interesting with the Rams. I get Raheem's point. They have not looked like the wagon that we thought they were earlier in the year. However, I go back to Tampa Bay a couple of years ago when they won their Super Bowl. They played your Washington Commanders in a wild card game that was way more competitive than people thought it was going to be. Heineke played really well. It was kind of a back-and-forth game. And I remember going into the divisional round that year, House, people looked at Tampa and said, oh, they barely beat the crummy Commanders. Now they got to go into New Orleans and take on the Saints. And we know what happened with that Tampa team. I don't penalize the Rams for winning a close game against Carolina. To me, it's survive and advance. And I can tell you guys without hesitation, I can't wait to fade the Bears again. I am getting my vengeance. I am getting my reckoning. I am so sick of that damn team. I'm so sick of the way they are costing me money. I will have the Rams in everything this coming Sunday. And there's a best bet, House, that's coming up later on in the show that will detail exactly what I am doing.
I'll let you over the course of the week and into the weekend make the case for why you trust that defense, but I don't. I don't trust the Rams defense. I'm
you
not
trust
willing
the
to lay
Bear
the
defense,
hook.
though?
Well, it doesn't matter. The
Okay.
Bears defense plays exactly like 10 minutes of the fourth quarter of every single game. I don't care what happens in the first three quarters. As long as they're not down by 31 points, it doesn't matter. They play incredibly stout football the last 10 minutes of every single football game, this Bears defense does. I don't like the Rams on the road. I mean, the Rams at home is one thing. I just don't like the Rams on the road. So the line's 3.5 right now. I got to figure out a way to bet this thing because I don't really have any inclination at all to lay it with the Rams. But we'll see about whether there's something. The total is high, 50.5. But proceed at your own peril, trying to bet unders involving the Bears. It's crazy, especially because of what happens at end of games. It's funny that Dree mentioned the 49ers and the Seahawks because that was the number that jumped out at me and to me, JJ. That number is, well, okay, the 7.5s are gone. It was 7.5 this morning. The Seahawks were favored by 7.5. It's now a 7 juiced to -120. So you have to really pay if you want the 7. But this is a division matchup where these two teams know each other so well. I have a hard time, especially after the way that the Seahawks really handled business in Week 18, grab that number 1 seed. I I don't like margin now. I mean, these rematches between division teams, they tend to be. It's still a 1-score game. I liked it better when it was at 7.5. But the thing that Shanahan can do, he showed it again beyond a reasonable doubt. The way he treated the Eagles, the innovation, and the difference between his ability to scheme up against a defense and sort of take advantage of his tendencies. 2 deep balls early on in that game that the Eagles absolutely were not expecting. Look, the San Francisco team has had plenty of time to study the Seahawks defense, so I'm probably going to be in the direction of the Niners.
Juicy. When we come back, I have a feeling our next guest and our buddy and our pal Anthony Dabbundo not going to give that an endorsement considering his love for the Seattle Seahawks. We'll have 3 and Out with Mr. AD recapping this East Coast Bias when we come back. It's the home stretch, Ringer Gambling Show, East Coast Bias Boys, plus the 4th member of the team, Anthony Dabbundo, who joins us for our weekly Monday 3 and Out. Mr. Dabbundo, it's a pleasure to see you. Wildcard weekend. Still buzzing. Still beaming. Floor is yours. You can take this any which way you want. I am fascinated to see where you go.
Well, JJ, I have to wonder if you know ball. Did you watch the All-22? Because I did, and I'm actually closer to Team House on the Justin Herbert situation.
No surprise. No surprise. You're sounding with your nerd brother, and no surprise.
I just have to be honest. And the way I saw that game was that he was constantly getting pummeled. And I think that we all knew about the offensive line issues, and we watched Justin Herbert put on a superhuman effort to overcome those issues in the final couple months of the season. He wasn't able to do it. And that is a knock on him, that when the lights were the brightest, he did not play his best. But I think blaming him is where I have a problem.
He had 3 points in the game, though. Listen, I'm not disregarding the fact that Alton Slater didn't play a role in this. Clearly they did. They had 3 points in the game, Dabbundo. 3.
Yeah.
This was not 16.
Not enough to win.
Dude, 3. You're one of the best. Josh Allen, let's put him behind that offensive line. Josh Allen have 3 points in the game?
They probably have more. Josh Allen's better than Justin Herbert. No question
they have more.
Yeah.
No, and this is my problem. If they matched up with the Texans, right, who I know have this dominant all-world defensive line, or Seattle and what they do defensively, I think I would have much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Acceptance.
Empathy?
Empathy, sure. Empathy, acceptance, and I'd say, you know what? I get it. This Patriot defense, to me, is, I know Milton Williams now all of a sudden is Chris Jones in his prime? Like
he's a game-changing player, evidently.
He's a good. I know he had a great Super Bowl.
Eagles missed him this year.
He's a good player. He's not. This is not Michael Strahan. Come on, man. Dude, to have the playoff game he had a year ago where he threw 4 interceptions, to go and have 3 points in a game is a major knock on the quarterback. I'm sorry. It just is.
I just wanted to get you fired up again. I really enjoyed that part of the
segment
first segment
listen,
of the show.
I'm salty, and I'm not going to lie. I'm a little salty, too, because I had the Chargers.
I think we all had the Chargers. We had the Packers.
Which was probably the kiss of death, number 1. And number 2, AD, I was so impressed by their defense. And, my feelings on what that defense was going to be able to do to New England, I felt so right about it. I was like, great, this is exactly what I got myself into. 3 points.
Anyway, my first point has nothing to do with Justin Herbert. I just wanted to
I'm glad you got me going now.
And
That's
I
what
think
the
it was
people want.
successful. I'm here to just push a couple buttons,
Well, you did it. So success. Job well done. Job well done. I love you.
I'll be honest. I've really enjoyed the last 16 hours of this city, of which I call home, Philadelphia, because I fired up WIP immediately after the final play of the game. And honestly, I think there was 2 things that really sunk the Eagles this year. One was the sunk cost fallacy of just everybody knew by week 3 or week 4 that Petullo was not the answer. And they kept winning games. They kept squeaking by. I mean, if you watch that Rams game back in week 4, you were like, this is not right. This has never been correct. And you could feel it. It was like the elephant in the room that nobody inside the organization wanted to talk about. But I think it does run a little deeper than just Petullo, because when you watch this Eagles team yesterday, I thought Robert Saleh kind of picked on the limitations of Jalen Hurts a little bit. They didn't blitz really at all. They brought 4 consistently. They didn't get any pressure on Hurts. He was pressured on 16% of his dropbacks, which is basically 0. And he had a really long time to throw. He consistently left pockets early that were clean and kind of beat himself. And the bet was like, if we force Hurts to be decisive by giving him options, by giving him time, he will not be able to consistently beat us from the pocket. And yes, there were drops. A.J. Brown was an issue. But it was not just Patullo. It's not just the offensive coordinator that I think is part of this. It also goes to the head coach as well. And Raheem talked about Sirianni. There's a lot of people in this town that even with the Super Bowl win weren't all actually that happy about Nick Sirianni's job as the head coach. And you can always just kind of hand wave it away because of the culture and the winning and we're doing all of this. But now that's no longer the case. It's just really, quite frankly, that it's a what have you done for me lately town. It's a what have you done for me lately league. And this year, Nick Sirianni has totally failed. The most heated debate that I had at Core Week when we were out in LA was with Van Lathan and the whole crew. And we were discussing Nick Sirianni, and I said, I don't think he's close to a top 10 coach. And we had a whole, mutiny in the bullpen at the office. And I stand by that. And I think he's quite frankly a very mediocre coach.
You know what? I'd love to push back on you, AD. And it's going to sound crazy because he's a Super Bowl winning head coach. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's in the playoffs every year. Yet House, my gut, and I don't want to do the exercise because I don't want to bore people. I think I could name 10 coaches I'd rather have coaching my team than Nick Sirianni. I agree with that.
A few of them are currently unemployed. Right? Would you take John Harbaugh or Nick Sirianni?
John Harbaugh.
Mike McDaniel or Nick Sirianni?
And nobody loves.
I think I'm still taking Mike McDaniel.
Nobody loves Versace more than me.
Honestly,
okay?
I think if
love
you put
Mike
Nick
McDaniel.
Sirianni
That's unfair.
And Mike McDaniel together, I think you got a good head coach.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
But you have to be fair about this. The body of work for Nick Sirianni blows Mike McDaniel's body of work out of the water. But Kyle Shanahan doesn't have a Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni does have a Super Bowl. There's nobody on planet Earth who would rather have Nick Sirianni as their head coach. Not a soul.
There's still a few Eagles fans left who would say it.
Well, they'd be wrong.
But only the delusional ones. Yeah.
They'd be wrong. Look at you firing right out of the gate. I'm sure the city of brotherly love loves it, and no pun intended. You could just tell from a vibe standpoint, the vibe with the Eagles all year has not been there. And it was going to rear its ugly head from an offensive standpoint. And a lot of that, yes, is scheme. Yes, is quarterback. Yes, is A.J. Brown. That vibe plays a role in it too, AD.
Well, that was the thing, right? Sirianni is supposed to be the culture coach. The culture is good when you win. But when you lose, if you got the star receiver pouting on the sideline, complaining about the coach, complaining about the quarterback, how good is your culture really? Is it really that good? Didn't feel that way to me watching the game.
Yeah, you're on the right point here because now we have 2 out of 4 years here where when he is surrounded by coordinators that know what they're doing, that have their own culture and create their own trust with their players, especially on the offensive side. Look at the 2 coordinators that he had when they went to the Super Bowl. He had Shane Steichen,
and
who's doing a pretty decent job.
Kellen Moore
on the defensive side. And then Moore, exactly right. And Fangio last year, he had Fangio on defense. Defense wasn't a problem this season in any way, shape, or form, right? But 2 out of 4 years when he doesn't have the coordinators on the offensive side, it's been a bum offense.
AD, take 2. Hit me.
Well, I think we were talking about this a lot with Buffalo and Jacksonville, and I said that whoever won Buffalo versus Jacksonville was going to be the team that went on to win the AFC. So now I pose the question. Buffalo is a 1.5 point favorite. The line's kind of been bouncing back and forth. It's essentially a pick-em in Denver next weekend. I said that the winner would win the AFC. I picked Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo still to win the AFC. Do you guys agree or disagree that the Bills will finally get over the hump in the first year without Mahomes there as the end boss to wreck Josh Allen's dreams? Will the Bills win the AFC?
I'm throwing a disclaimer on this. If they don't have to play the Houston Texans.
Oh.
I think it's a nightmarish matchup.
I think they beat them anyway. I know.
No, I agree with you, Anthony. And I think the Texans defense is slip. I don't think this Texans defense is the same defense that they were the first 14 weeks of the season. So
they've been leaking big plays.
Playing the game at home, though. Remember, if they play the Texans, that game will be in Houston.
If you go back and watch that first game, though, there was a lot of opportunities for Buffalo that they just couldn't quite execute on. It was a short week road game. I think if they played in an AFC Championship type game, you would expect Buffalo to give a better offensive effort. I'm not sure how much more Houston's getting out of their run game, for example, against the Bills.
Fair enough.
I don't argue with that. I want to ask you guys a question. I really hate what the NFL has done here by sending Buffalo to Denver on a short week. Denver coming off of rest as a 1 seed. Am I over?
Somebody's got to play on a short week, though. No,
I think you overreacted.
You could have minimized it, though.
I always wonder, could they have played both NFC games on the same day and both AFC games on the same day? Like, why don't they do that?
That's got to be a network thing. It's got to be a network thing.
But they don't even care. They cross networks now. It doesn't even matter.
I mean, that's my own. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying that's the only logical.
Because it would also make sense from a conference championship.
It's so funny because San Francisco is playing on a short week as well. But if you go back to last year, and this is Cleveland, TA pointed this out. This has happened 4 straight years and 5 out of the last 6. Washington was in this exact same spot last year, and they dominated the Lions.
And won the game. Won the game. All right, AD, got to hit point 3 real quick. What's it going to be?
I think the story of tonight's game, Houston and Pittsburgh, will be that Aaron Rodgers uses his brain to overcome the deficiencies that they have offensively. We all know how quickly he wants to get the ball out. We all know how aggressive the Houston defense is. They're going to be constantly swarming to the ball to try to take advantage of the fact that, yes, Pittsburgh's offense is very underneath yak dependent. They're going to get the ball out quick. There will be 1 or 2 plays that Pittsburgh breaks off big over-the-top plays as a result of Houston's over-aggression that will lead to them staying in this game. I don't know if they're going to win it. I said it would be Houston 18-16. I like Pittsburgh +3 and have bet it. But I think that will be the key to the game. They will break off 1 or 2 big explosives because Houston's overly aggressive.
Rapid fire best bets. House, hit me.
Philadelphia 76ers. We're going with Joel Embiid to record a double-double +130 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I don't care if Pirtle comes back for Toronto. The Sixers get their revenge tonight.
Dream.
Texans first half money line.
For me, it's going to be a money line parlay. Get it while you can, friends. Indiana Hoosiers, Los Angeles Rams. Don't think about it. Thank me later. The Rams are not losing to this fraud Chicago team. I will get my vengeance. I will get it.
Eventually.
The boys say sayonara. What a parting shot. Dabbundo, House, JJ, Raheem, we're out. Enjoy your Monday. Be good, everybody.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York.